Hi guys! So I decided this year for my birthday is a week from today, December 1st, that I was going to make myself a little time capsule. And by that I mean I'm going to make myself this video that kind of recaps my year before my 24th year, so that in the future I can just kind of watch this video, even my envision is 10 years on the road, I watch this video, I'm like, oh yeah, just so I can remember my 24th year. And if nobody watches this video, I'm completely fine with that. This is truly from me, and if anybody else wants to watch it, that's great. I'm putting it on YouTube, mostly because that's the best thing I can think of to easily find this video in the future. And then other people can watch if they so choose. I'm gonna start by talking about basically my 23rd birthday and then everything that's happened since, because honestly this has been probably one of the most eventful years of my life, if not the most eventful year of my life so far. So on December 1st, 2016, that was my 23rd birthday, and that is the day that I found out that I passed the EdTPA. The EdTPA is a test that, at least in the state of Illinois and in many other states in the United States, you have to pass this. It's performance-based, but it's all through video, and then you have to talk about what you did and why you did it, and you have to cite evidence based on why that was the best way to do this, blah 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 blah. It's a teacher performance exam, basically. It's like the boards for nursing, but for teachers. And I found out I passed it that day. And I didn't only just find out that I passed it that day, I found out that I got a pretty decent score that day, which I was excited because honestly, since this test is pretty new, the score you needed to pass it was pretty low, and I was going to be sad if I passed it but got that score, because that was not a good score. Their plan is in 20 years, you're going to have to get this score, and I got that score and higher, so I was satisfied. I was super excited. That was the best birthday present I got. But then 2 days later, I got my boyfriend, and I kind of had him before. We were dating, going on dates or whatever, but we didn't actually officially start dating until 2 days later, on December 3rd. So already big things happening 2 days after I turned 23, or 20. Yeah, oh my gosh, I can't even. 23 after I turned 23. But then right after that, December 12th. It was later in December, I graduated college, which, another big thing, obviously, very exciting. We'll always remember that day. It was very snowy and I was very upset because it literally didn't snow at all before or after. Just a giant blizzard on my graduation day. And then it was Christmas and New Year's and all that other exciting things that happens in the holiday season that is December. January is where things started to get a little lull. A lot of lull, actually. Right after graduation, this was still in December, I got an interview at my old elementary school. Not for a teaching position because it's December and that's really hard around here to get your own class, to even expect to get your own classroom in December. But it was for a permanent substitute position, which I didn't even know what that was. But it's a position where you are a sub, which I was expecting to be a sub right after graduation. But you're in the same school every day, and you're guaranteed to work every single school day. So it's not like a sub where you really don't know if you're going to work this day or that day. I knew every school day I'm going to have something to do, I'm going to have a job, I'm going to get to work. I just didn't know what I was going to be doing each day, so it kind of depended on who was gone that day. The bummer thing was that it didn't end up working out with the school that I went to, just because my license wouldn't be ready, and there's so many other things you have to go through when you're working in a school, and it wasn't going to be ready by the time they wanted me to start. But she really liked me, and she liked that I went through that school and the district, so she referred me to another principal at another school in the same town, the same district, and they offered me a job. So I was excited because it was a job, but I was a little bummed because it would have been so cool to work in my old elementary school, because that's where I knew I wanted to be a teacher. But it worked out really well. The bummer thing on why January was kind of bleh is because it took so long for my license to be processed, my background check to be processed, then I had to be approved by the Board of Education. And that meeting didn't even happen until late January. And then all this stuff that just had to be done, and I didn't know when it was going to be ready. Nobody really did, because time can tell, and it was after the holidays and people were working slow. So I sat around all January. After 4.5 years of working my butt off all day, every day, I had nothing to do for a month. And it was actually more than a month because I finished student teaching before mid-December. So it was excruciating. And my boyfriend was telling me, everybody was telling me, this is like the longest break you're going to have again for like your whole life. You should enjoy it. And I was trying to, I really was, because I knew that was probably true. But I couldn't, like, I can't do nothing for that long. I was trying to read books. I was trying to like get into a new TV show, but I just gotta tell you, I was not myself in January. I went into a funk. And then finally, I got the news that I could start my new job, and everything went back up, and I started being myself again. I really liked my new job, being the permanent sub. The only thing I didn't like about it was that I had no idea what I was going to be doing that day, and I knew that going into it, but I didn't know it was going to bother me so much, which I probably should have, because I'm a routine person. I don't even like change, so this year was huge for me, because when you just graduate college, change is inevitable. But to literally wake up in the morning and have zero clue what I was doing that day was driving me crazy. But I did like the job. I got to know every single kid in the school, every single teacher I was at least once, and that includes like music, art, PE, I was everybody. So it was a really cool experience, and I'll look back on it positively, but I wouldn't want to do it again because of what I said. In the middle of that job, I actually got to go on my very first spring break trip in a long time. I honestly don't even know the last time I went on a spring break trip. I just haven't had the money, or like in college, your spring break doesn't really line up with like anybody else's except for people in your school and everybody who did have money or whatever. It just didn't work out, like, and at all through college. I just didn't go. I don't understand how people go to spring break during college when they complain about being poor. Okay, well, how are you going to go on a cruise? I don't get it. So it felt well deserved, even though my boyfriend ended up being the only person that made the trip possible. It was a really awesome trip, and Disney World is just, it's my happy place, and it's a lot of people's happy place, and I'm not saying every other vacation spot in the world sucks. I just love Disney World, and it is the best thing that could have happened to my mental health. It was great, especially because I get seasonal depression like pretty bad, and it refreshed me. It gave me a new rejuvenated start to finish out the year with that job that I liked, but it was messing with me because I didn't know what to expect every day. Yeah, so that was the highlight of the year, honestly, Disney World. Then for summer, I had a different job, so again, more change, which I love. Not sarcastic. Last summer and the summer before that, I worked for a camp, and I loved camp. I decided a while ago that I was going to do camp until I have kids or have a real reason to not work during summer, because like I said, I don't like having a lot of time off. So I couldn't work at the camp I worked at before, only because it would have been way too far to drive to every day. So I knew I needed to find a new camp job, but I also knew it shouldn't be too hard because I have a degree now in elementary education and I have camp experience. So I was right, it wasn't too hard to find a job. I was offered a teen camp counselor position, which is literally the same position I had before, so I was like, good, minimal change, it's at least the same position, just at a new place. But then, like a month after I was offered that job, I got offered a different job with the same place, but to be a director of the 2nd and 3rd grade camp. And my original reaction was, no, enough change. But then my head snapped into it. I got an email, and I was like, no, that's a good opportunity. And I just said yes before I could have I could have time to overthink it, because that's what I do. So I did say yes. I took the job. And I loved it. It was a great experience. I loved the park district I worked for. I liked the old one too, but it made the change easier, let's just say that. Like, it would have been hard going to a lesser run park district, but it was great. I just had a great summer. It flew by. The only sucky thing was I literally had no time off from the day school ended to the day camp ended. But I grew a lot as a person and as a leader. It was just great. I can't wait to go back this year. Then another change, and why the end of camp kind of sucked, it was because I didn't know what I was doing after camp. I knew the building sub position was still available for me. In fact, I still had it, but I knew I didn't want it because of what I've previously mentioned. So it was getting really stressful because the end of camp was rapidly approaching. Everyone was talking about back to school. I never have not wanted to hear more about back to school than I didn't want to this summer. I was getting depressed again, like feeling like I did in January. Even though I knew I did have a job, I was feeling lost again. And then the day, literally, it was weird. The day camp ended, right as my last kid was getting picked up, my Fitbit started buzzing, and I had my Fitbit turned on for phone calls so that I would know to answer it, because I was hoping for phone calls, and it was a school. And I have had some interviews before this, so it wasn't like this was my first interview. That's why it was also kind of disheartening. That interview was set up for Tuesday, it was Friday, and actually, in between that time, those 3 to 4 days, 3 more interviews got set up. It was crazy. It all started happening so fast, and I was warned about that, but I was still worrying. But I ended up getting the job with that school that called the second camp ended, and I just think that's so not coincidental, if you know what I mean. Like, there's somebody else up there helping me out with that. But it was a real relief. Like, suddenly it was really, but then I went right back into panic mode because I didn't have too much time to get a classroom ready for a school year. But I made it work. I mean, I just dedicated every second of every day that next week and 2 days or whatever it was to getting my classroom ready. And I did it. And now I'm done with the change for at least this year. That was my 3rd job of this year. So it was stressful. It was a stressful year, but it was a good year. It was all 3 of my jobs were really good, have been, because I still have one. Really great experiences that I don't regret any part of any one of them. I took some notes because I knew I'd forget stuff when I was just going through the year like that, and I did. One of the low lights, so the not so great things of this year, was my cat dying. And we do have 3 cats, so luckily we still have 2. It'd be so hard to go from having 3 to 0, or even 1 to 0, because at least we do still have some kitties in the house. One of our oldest kitties died, and we knew it was coming. She was showing signs for years, so honestly we were just kind of glad she was still making it this long. But it was just getting to the point where she was suffering, and it was time to put her to sleep. And so it was sad. It was really sad for 2 weeks after it. And I know I should just be glad that that's all I had to say goodbye to this year. No deaths and close friends or family. So I mean, that I'm grateful for, but it's still hard to say goodbye to one of your little furry friends who you've had since I can remember. I don't remember life before her. We'll miss her. We always will miss her, but it happens. That's part of having pets, unfortunately. One of the other things I forgot to mention, it's kind of a minor thing because it doesn't, the more I think about it, the more I'm it doesn't matter. I almost got an apartment this year because I figured that's what I wanted. All through college, I'm I like my roommates, but I also would love to have my own place. I decided not to because everything got so stressful right when I started this job, where the only job I've had that I could actually afford to have an apartment. It happened so quick and I had no time to get ready, and then by the time I actually felt settled and knew what I was doing, it was October, and I'm by now I'm already fine with living at home again. It's not I'm even home that much. I'm really not. I'm either at school, which is most of the time, or my boyfriend's place, because he does have his own apartment. So I'm really not even here that much. It's why would I buy my own apartment that I'm not going to be in that much? When I have no problem with my mom and my stepdad. We're all introverts, so we all kind of do our own thing. And it's totally fine. They like having me home. And honestly, it's been pretty great living back at home. But because I was saving all that money living at home, I decided to buy a new car because my car was actually showing signs that it was going to need to be replaced. It was getting really high in the miles, and I was going to have to put a whole bunch of money in it to maintain it. So I just decided, screw it, I'm buying a new car. My camera just died, and I'm totally embarrassed that my bed was a disaster the entire time. But it was a really cool moment to buy my own car, and I feel like a legit adult now, even though I still live with my parents. Hashtag millennials. I do have a list of my top 5 favorite songs. I kept going back and forth. But my top song I did not go back and forth on. It is Perfect by Ed Sheeran. Love it. Nothing else to say. It's amazing. And then 2 is Happier by Ed Sheeran. Clearly loved his new Divide album. 3 is Praying by Kesha. 4 is Love by Lana Del Rey, and 5 is Whatever It Takes by Imagine Dragons. And then TV shows, and these are TV shows that were like airing this year and had new episodes, not like Netflix shows I just watch all the time. So the top one is This Is Us, just amazing, love every single episode. 2 is Stranger Things, which is very surprisingly on my list because I would have thought I would hate it, but I loved it. Season 1 and 2. And then number 3 is Outdaughter, which is totally different than the other shows. It's a reality show on TLC with quintuplets, girls, and they're 2, and they're freaking adorable. And then movies that came out. So my top movie that came out was Beauty and the Beast. It was amazing. I saw it in theaters 3 times, and I never do that. Just nothing bad to say. I just love Disney. We've covered this. And then 2 was Wonder. Great story for kids. Read the book in college. I'm rereading it to my 4th graders now. I just love it. It's amazing. And the movie was so emotional and amazing. Much like the book, which is always good. And then 3 was Glass Castle, which I didn't even know was being made into a movie. But as soon as I did find out, it was already in theaters, so I went and saw it, and it was amazing. And I saw more movies this year, but those were the only 3 that, like, stand out and made my list of movies I'll remember and really like and want to buy. So I think that ends my time capsule for year 24. It was a really big year of change, and I hope next year has less change.